I don't know any of these YouTubers either, so it's fun to see these videos. Swockwickdus journey. I don't know if I'm saying that right. From level 1 to 60 in World of Warcraft Classics. This is like another series we're going to get into starting now. Uber Danger. Never heard of them, but thank you for sharing. And now we get to become more and more World of Warcraft educated.
This is the story of one man who's never played World of Warcraft
No wonder this has a lot of
his
views.
crusade to conquer WoW Classic so that he could review the game for his YouTube gaming channel in an unbiased, objective manner without any nostalgia goggles. This is the tale of the sexiest Night Elf warrior coal miner that ever lived, and her journey to save Azeroth with her ass. Now why did I pick Night Elf? Well,
Obvious
I
reasons,
ruled out
probably.
orcs, taurens, trolls, and the undead, because why pick Horde if I'm already a bad person in real life? I gotta roleplay a little bit. The choice then stood between Night Elf, Midget, Manlet, and regular human. Now humans are great at everything,
Night Elf's a
but
good
who
choice.
the fuck
Yeah,
plays
fine.
an MMORPG to be the same dude they are in real life?
Yeah.
What kind of reprobate actually decides to make their character human guy?
Yeah, on top of that, who plays a human warrior? Because it's like you can be a warrior in real life. You can be a human in real life. You could be a human warrior in real life. You're playing a fantasy game. Play anything else besides... Can you guys think of a single streamer who plays a human warrior? Damn it, Asmongold.
As for the class, you can't really go wrong with warrior. They train constantly and strive for perfection in armed combat. As I'll be able to tell you from my extensive MMORPG experience, that is to say about 800 hours on Flife and more on Adventure Quest games, I reckon I'm pretty Flife-pilled at this point, which grants me access to forbidden knowledge. Any class that uses mana is schizophrenic. Any class that heals people is for subhumans. And the furry classes just aren't my cup of tea. Rogue was also on the table, but I went with warrior. Anyways, I named my sexy fuck of a character Swockwickdus. Don't fucking question it, it's the perfect name.
I'm
When it came
questioning
to
it.
picking a
What does
server,
that mean?
I didn't skip a beat. Noggenfogger was clearly the place for me. After a barely noticeable 3-hour queue time that I had to do twice, I was ready to experience the full blunt force of vanilla World of Warcraft.
Swockwickdus. The journey begins. This video satire may contain mild video game nudity. Wait. Hold on. I need to make sure we're okay with all of this. And what could be some perceived as mildly inappropriate philosophical commentary. Okay, so it's satire, guys. It's a joke. To the YouTube employee who will no doubt review this video for monetization, please take the entire piece of content into consideration instead of casting it aside as inappropriate and offensive. Just because I said the words F and A in the first minute, I've made extensive efforts to fall within the YouTube TOS, and not in any way do I marginalize any groups or hurt anyone. This is just entertainment. Okay, satire, guys. It's jokes. All right? Move forward.
Alright, how do you fucking play this game? The first thing that dawned on me was that the core element of gameplay is standing and hitting. And in retrospect, I couldn't even do that correctly. You'll notice that I keep pressing 1, enabling and disabling attack mode. If you're a WoW player, I get if this triggers you, but it took me over 10 hours to figure out that I don't have to contract carpal tunnel to play the game. In vanilla WoW, there's no quest markers, and you have to actually read the quests and explore the world to progress. It's almost as if the game developers intend for you to actually play the game as a person who's just come out of a 7-year-long kerfuffle with League of Legends. This whole immersive, well-designed gameplay is a bit off-putting, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. Being spoon-fed the lore, I take note that one of the very first quests revolves around opening up the borders to allow all the other races into our sacred lands. And I, for one, am glad to be here in this pivotal moment in time. This is an absolute win and a giant leap for freedom and progress. I'm certain it will have no unintended consequences down the line. I have been seriously poisoned. You must help me. Actually, I would, but you know, I gotta farm mobs. So, you know, good luck.
Ishnuala.
In his native language, that actually means, bless the sacred tree of life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Since I had not the faintest idea what I was doing in this game, I decided to domesticate the first player I ran into and make her my WoW GF. Me and Elizabeth started leveling together. Honestly, I consider it a pure stroke of luck that she dumped 14 years of her life into this game. She knew everything, down to the most minute detail of lore. It's honestly impressive. She's the one that taught me that you can take all your clothes off and dance. Listen, female night elf was the move. Night elves do front flips when you jump, and listen,
I feel like bad looking at the screen, man. Like this is.
I made the right
your eyes,
choice.
guys.
I quickly came to learn that this game is all about partying up with other people and overcoming diversity. And no, I didn't mean adversity. Those darn gnomes can take their asses back to Namerigan where they belong. If the fact that the entire game revolves around standing and hitting is one of the game's weak points, then the atmosphere and immersion coupled with the legendary sound design is definitely one of the strong points. I'm actually enjoying the game way more than I thought I would. The formula is ridiculously simple. You find the strongest thing that won't kill you. Then you stand and hit enough of them till you become stronger. At times, you'll complete certain tasks which usually require you to stand and hit things. After which, you'll be rewarded with experience and items that'll make you stand longer and hit harder. And I'm not trying to downplay trading and questing with other players, learning skills like alchemy or crafting, or doing questionable things for monetary gains. I'm simply just making the argument that literally all those things and everything else in the game is entirely structured around improving the experience of standing and hitting. In a way, it's like Cookie Cutter, but with more world building. And I kind of like it. It's pretty good. This is where Swockwickdus' adventure kicked into overdrive. I fell off the edge of the map, only to discover that the entire starting island is actually this big-ass tree, and that you survive the fall into the water, only to be left with a simple choice. Personally, I drowned myself. Starvation just really isn't my thing. Eliza convinced me that my lot in life was to be a coal miner. I would later come to find that I'd fallen for one of the classic blunders. She merely wanted all the animals to herself so she could make bank skinning them. When confronted with the brutal reality of her betrayal, she made it up to me with a naked wetland run.
A lot of nudity.
Follow me.
Okay.
Allow me to explain. So Night Elves start in Teldrassil. Later in the game, you'd get access to Stormwind, where you can learn useful things like mastery of a two-handed...
Is that Stormwind?
Later in the game, you'd get access to Stormwind.
That's Nomergon. This is Ironforge. Stormwind's down here. Okay.
Where you can learn useful things like mastery of a two-hand weapon or how to make rat kebabs. Two equally essential skills in life. Once you finish up questing in the starting area, you get access to Darkshore, and from there you can take a boat to Menethil Harbor. But first, you put all your equipment into the bank so it won't be broken by the countless deaths you may have to go through. And also, because then you're naked, and you're gonna be walking for like a fucking hour. You know they say it's lonely at the top. But I sure like the view. You jump off the boat and head through the Bluegill Marsh.
Wow.
It's at this point you're reminded that you're about to encounter a lot of mobs that are much, much stronger than you. You keep walking all the way past the Green Belt until you reach Thelgen Rock and the entrance to Don Moreau, at which point you sit back and wait for someone else to attempt the wetland run. If they're damnable fools, they won't know they're about to run into the one mob that's pretty much a guaranteed death. Remember to smile from ear to ear as they take aggro and you watch them die in vain about a 20-minute walk from where they can resurrect. Now you're actually in the clear, and the run through Dunmorrow is a breeze. During the walk to Loch Modan, you'll notice that the contrast in colors is just way better in other areas than the Night Elf leveling zones. But as a Night Elf, you can do front flips and socialize with women, and that's a pearly padding if I've ever seen one.
Okay.
Alright. I guess you can't find a synonym for silver lining word for word, but I tried. I really did fucking try. Anyways, once you're through with Loch Modan, it's then time to cross the border and enter a place much too cold for two frail, skimpily dressed night elves. You take in the scenery of the snowy mountains as you make the trek to Ironforge, partially because there's a flight point, but primarily because now you can get smashed with your WoW GF. As you drink yourself into delirium, you realize it cost all the money you'd saved up in your 13 hours of game time, and it dawns on you that World of Warcraft isn't all that different from real life. Then, in an alcoholically induced stupor, you enter Tinkertown and use a flute to catch some rats that are then turned into rat kebabs. Because let's be honest, did you really have a good time drinking if you didn't slaughter a greasy kebab along the way? That was a rhetorical question. Once you've had your fun in Tinkertown, you take the Deep Run tram, which runs all the way below the Vanos Gaming Ocean, and then you finally arrive at your destination, Stormwind. So yeah, Stormwind's pretty cool.
It is
As
pretty
an
cool.
extra delectable addition to the experience, Blizzard fucked some shit up and somehow got the entirety of Kalimdor kicked at the same time, whilst we were on the side of the world that didn't get Thanos snapped. I'll have you know I'm enough of a man to admit it. Alright, I'm having a good time here, this is fucking gameplay. Dumb enough to think I could stand on my own 2 feet, I parted ways with Eliza. I figured that to truly have an authentic experience, I could have someone walk me through the entire game. I returned to Darkshore and almost immediately proceeded to be soft-locked by a graveyard skip for a solid 45 minutes. I'd gone just past this point and died, which changed the resurrection shrine to all the way down here, where the mobs are just way fucking stronger and just kill me. Especially if you take into
All red
consideration
armor.
the fact that all of my armor is now broke. But I gotta walk the whole way back. But then every time I revived my corpse, they would just kill me, and I would just come up with a new strategy. Why don't I just walk the whole way in wisp form, just, you know, bite the bullet, and then I'll just revive there. But, you know. What? I went all the fucking way to up there to use the fucking spirit heal.
I learned this the other week. So I was being camped by a bunch of Horde players. Not because they are better than me, because I was lagging. My internet was being really shady. I couldn't like 1v15 them like I normally would because my internet. And so I died. Anyway, I was dead in the graveyard and I was being camped over and over and over again. So I went to the other graveyard to try to resurrect, and it brings you back to the same graveyard. Yeah, I don't know if that's intended. Maybe it is. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But then I died again because my internet was acting up again. But yeah, I'm enjoying this from for like a really interesting reason. It's cool to see World of Warcraft under the guise of someone who's like never played, because there's so many things that if you've been playing WoW for 20 years. Wow, it's been 20 years. If you've been playing WoW for 20 years, it's just automatic. Like, you just stop thinking about these things. But when you watch someone with a completely fresh perspective, it's like, oh yeah, that is kind of funny, or that is kind of interesting, or that is kind of weird. And it's all the thoughts that we had 20 years ago. I just long forgot about them because I've been playing the game for so long.
Healer, and then it spirit healed me all the way down here, and now I'm in the same predicament, and I can't. For 45 minutes, and it was at this very moment that I began to doubt the path I'd chosen. Was I really the right type of person to experience this game to a point where I'd have fair grounds on which to even review it? That seed of doubt would taint my mind and eventually bloom to become a jungle of suspicion and uncertainty. Could I in fact be one of those fucking normies that played this game for 2 weeks and forever after proclaimed that it's just not their thing? Only time will tell.
No.
All I know is I caved in and had my bangin' WoW GF walk me through a couple more quests and teach me the game just a bit more. Being a beginner in World of Warcraft without any MMO experience in the last 10 years of my life is a bit like choking on a fucking anus.
He's still spamming
Although
one.
whilst it's happening, you realize you're actually kinda into it. Allow me to explain. At first, your coping mechanisms kick in.
What?
This game is cookie clicker. I'm just standing and hitting. The Horde players in Ashenvale need a fucking therapist. But then...
The battle for Ashenvale.
The part where you're not standing and hitting reels you back in, which leads you on a pilgrimage of exploration throughout Azeroth. About to go to bed at 11 a.m., I ask myself,
11 a.m.
why did I
Been
just
there,
spend
bro.
5 hours randomly exploring with no direction when I could have just Googled the next appropriate zone for my character? Oh yeah, that's right, because if I try to look up a guide,
Warriors were the worst class in the game at leveling by such a large margin, it's not even close.
The warrior is widely known as the worst leveling class or solo leveling class in the game.
They are definitely
Yeah, true.
challenging. They have slow leveling, low mobility, low sustain, high gear dependence,
Yeah.
dependence on consumables, costly repairs.
so let me get this straight,
Yeah.
right? Leveling is you going through all the 60 levels. One could argue that's at least a good chunk of the game.
Don't click your...
Apparently,
oh.
my class is undisputedly the worst at this, and
Yeah.
by a large margin. And the only solution,
You need gear, you need gear, you need gear. Warriors need lots of gear.
of
Yeah.
which I have none. So this is the current questing experience as a warrior.
That's why solo self-found hardcore warrior is the ultimate challenge. Like, it's just so fun because you have no gear to scale your character, so hardcore becomes really hard, and the content just becomes really challenging in and of itself. Or you don't even have to make it hard; it's just hard.
You attempt to pull only one mob. If successful, you kill it, regenerate your health, and repeat. It truly is fucking rough out here.
True.
What then completely demoralized me, though, was about halfway into the YouTube guide.
You want to switch these to strafe left and strafe right instead. That's right.
Yeah.
No more keyboard turning, friends. This leaves all of your character turning to your mouse, actually.
Yeah, there
They
we
want
go.
me to set up key bindings and constantly perform this frame-perfect stutter step to optimally kite every enemy.
Yeah.
Literal arthritis aside, the day you see me R-block trickshot optimal in World of Warcraft is the day you know this game poisoned my soul. I said, fuck the hamstring stutter step, I'll just play the game my own way.
Oh, no.
I finished up all
Oh,
the
come
quests in
on.
Darkshore. I'd say the highlights were giving this guy a good time in exchange for food and buffs. Wiping on the group quest where you gotta protect this guy 4 times in a row,
That's
then
tough.
admitting we need a healer. After which we proceed to wipe a 5th time since our healer
the red
simply
mobs.
forgot to heal the guy we were protecting. Certainly a slight
don't think you can heal that
oversight.
guy.
Remember to get past all the murlocs and
remember
get the
that.
relic before you run out of breath.
Oh no.
Pour some jazz powder over the red crystal, and that's pretty much all that stood out to me. Ashenvale is bleak and hollow, so void of life, and I was desperate to get to a different part of the game. When opportunity presented itself, it almost seemed too good to be true. And it was too good to be true. You see, I couldn't figure out how to finish a quest, and these 2 malicious druids in my party convinced me that it was actually a whole escort mission, and that I was ready to proceed to the next zone in the game, Ashenvale. Now, Curlonian Evershade walks
Let me get this straight. Swockwickdus, what the hell does that mean? Went all the way from Teldrassil to Ironforge, took the tram to Stormwind to presumably level in Westfall, and then decides to go back to Darkshore. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
just at the wrong movement speed,
Got it.
all the way deep into Ashenvale.
I'm awake. I'm awake.
He sporadically falls into an emerald dream nap, and you'll encounter a multitude of dumb bad boys along the way. I walked with these people for 20 fucking minutes for them to turn in their quest, kick me from the party, and leave me alone deep behind enemy lines in a heavily horde contested area. I tried completing some quests, but I kept getting PK'd time and time again. Having been humbled and shook by trials and
I
tribulation,
like how the one keybind is still there, man.
one question remained.
Take it off.
Would this be the end of the road for our hero, or would Swockwickdus prevail and conquer? Would Danger Bro turn out to be an absolute normie with not the slightest claim to fame as a certified nerd gangster, or would he get gear, and lots of gear? I guess only time will tell.
All right, episode 1, Swockwickdus. Very nice. Very nice. It's really cool to relive a fresh player experience in World of Warcraft because you can only get it once. Like, when someone plays WoW for the first time, I'm actually jealous of them because I'm like, oh yeah, you get to experience the novelty of life in the world. of Warcraft, right? Like it's fantastic. Like you get to smell the salt from the beaches in Darkshore. You get to kind of experience brand new quests and storylines and death and resurrection. And I mean, it's really the full story, man. It's fantastic. But once you play the game for 20 years, it's like, hurry up. I know this quest. I've done it 40 times. Give me my next upgrade. Damn it, Blizzard. You know, so it's nice. It's really refreshing. We'll watch episode 2 tomorrow. Well, we could actually, yo, Chad, do you guys want 2 today? We could double dose Uber Danger today if you guys really want. You want a double dose? We'll do 2. We'll do 2 today. We'll double dose. I'll give you guys approximately 3 more seconds to finish the rip. 3, 2, 1. I bet you can't keep the hype train going all video. Okay, let's watch
our hero
this.
was trapped
Episode
deep
2.
in Horde territory
Let's
at
go.
nearly level 19. You might recall the predicament of self-doubt and absolute fear of failure. But I pushed through it. Because
Yep.
I realized just how far I've come.
Download
When I started
Questy.
out, I had nothing.
Whoa.
Now, I've turned up the graphic settings and I have a cape. And you happen to have come upon a glorious occasion. You see, it's time for my tuffle with the first major dungeon in our journey, Deadmines. Spend enough time in Azeroth and you learn to improvise, adapt, and overcome. In the situation you're
Oh,
witnessing,
that's really smart.
many would make the mistake of helping the fellow Alliance player.
That's
the
not
intellectual,
an alliance. That's an NPC, bud.
molded by countless deaths, knows that the only means to an end is getting gear, gear, and lots of gear. Instead of risking it for the biscuit, I make sure to loot this rusty chest for any goods. 25 copper and a broken lock. I make off like a
Congrats.
bandit. In this game, you gotta know when to be a hero and when to look out for number 1. On the surface, Azeroth is adventurous and splendid, but in reality, it's a socio-political nightmare RP sandbox. You never know what foolish fuckery you might run into. You may in fact spontaneously combust. Now, the Horde gank was expected, but imagine my surprise when I rezzed the spirit healer just to be met by
Helcular's remains.
a mob so much stronger than me that I see a skull instead of its level. A mob who will chase you down and make you his bitch. You may be surrounded by Horde scum and have them grant you mercy if you wave back, just to get smacked in the back of the head by a troll 2 minutes later. This fucking psychopath just hit me a couple times and watched me get mauled by a wolf. And it is in fact not unusual to have an orc moonwalk on your corpse. As you can
Bro, watching this is somehow making me nostalgic of Classic Era. And I've played so much Classic Era this past year. I've played nothing else beside. How am I nostalgic for something I've been playing so much of? Guess I haven't played Classic Era in like a month or something. No, it's only been like 2 weeks. Yeah, it's only been like 2 weeks. But watching this makes me nostalgic about it. Whoops.
imagine, I grew weary of Ashenvale quickly. I took the Hearthstone back to Darnassus. Take note of the high-level spinning technique that my WoW GF taught me. By the way, she hasn't spoken to me in weeks. I wouldn't have long to dwell on it though, because before leaving Darnassus, I was swiftly disconnected, courtesy of Blizzard's patented, gruesome servers. After the brief intermission, our journey to Westfall began. I sailed to Darkshore, and from there to Menethil Harbor. Along the way, I pondered life's greatest questions. Why does dual wielding give you a 19% mischance?
Yeah, it is
Why
kinda
did I
weird.
choose Noggenfogger for the name instead of the server my friends play on? Why did I
That's
get
true.
invited to the Nogger Nations Guild? Why did I accept? Are robots gonna take all our jobs? How will we combat climate change, overpopulation, and deal with the threat of AI? When will China start World War III?
Oh
Why
my
does
gosh.
white monster with rosé wine actually fucking bang? Boomer Jews, by the way. Then I flew to Stormwind. And from Stormwind, I
Wow,
traveled on foot to
okay,
Westfall.
okay.
When I arrived at my final destination, Sentinel Hill...
Sentinel Hill.
I might actually break my fucking monitor. Sentinel Hill.
He's saying it right.
I have anger
Sentinel Hill.
problems.
Yeah.
I began a series of grueling tasks known as the Deadmines quest chain. Not difficult in the slightest, just fucking horrid. First I've gotta kill this guy who can be anywhere from here to here patrolling. Mind you, there's
Wait, no. Technically,
horrid. First I've gotta
technically,
kill
the
this
patrol
guy
is
who
even
can be
longer.
anywhere from here.
I think he goes up even further, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure the patrol's
to
even
here
longer.
patrolling. Mind you, there's lots of people on this quest and you're more likely to run into his corpse. Then I travel halfway across the world to deliver a letter. There's literally a mailing system in this world, so I don't see why that would ever be necessary. By the way, it's 4 letters, not 1. And it's back and forth in different places. Follow that up with an escort mission, and you have the unholy trifecta of gruesome game mechanics. Now pay close attention, alright? 1:20 a.m. I met Mike Miller and bought 40 loaves of bread. It was at this point that I was ready to bust down the Deadmines dungeon. Now the question is, how did I end up at 4:20 a.m. still not having completed the dungeon at a naked gnome twerk party of all places? Well, this is what happened. First, we got a group together that seemed to have a decent shot. We had a tank, a healer. It was good times, happy vibes, and smiles all around. We started making our way into the Deadmines just before the weekly realm restart. What I would consider to be our first crucial mistake. We decided to meet up again in half an hour. When we all logged on, our tank Glowin was missing, and a paladin offered to be our 5th. Without hesitation, I invited Fuck to the party. 2 minutes later, our tank came online and said that he was on the way. Our group was in disarray, unsure how to proceed, and in need of leader.
Do you kick the player you just invited, or do you tell the tank that he was too late? I think you tell the tank he was too late and you got replaced. You can't. What? You kick him? No. You don't kick the new guy. You already invited him. That's like giving someone something to borrow, realizing you need it, and then say, oh, I actually need that back. Like, that's probably not a good example.
Leadership. They looked to me for guidance. I suggested a democratic vote, and to quote myself, I vote we just do it with the current party, cause I'm a bit of a cunt.
Wait, does that make me a C word? Like, I would probably do it with the current party too. I don't think inviting the other guy back and kicking the player you just invited is that nice. The other player took too long to log in. That's their fault.
Was our second crucial mistake. You see, Glowin was loyal and determined, strong but gentle. Fuck, on the other hand, was an irredeemable bastard. He needed for the blue drop even though it wasn't an upgrade for him. Got it, then proceeded to pull an entire room of mobs, get our whole party killed, and immediately leave us with no tank at 4 a.m. This was the karma we got.
Wait, what do you mean no tank? You're the damn tank, bro. You're a level 21 warrior with a shield.
Turning our backs on Glowin. Now naturally, some would argue that I could have tanked, but I wanted to dual wield with a 19% miss chance, so you can see why that wasn't on the table. It was here late at night that Hellmistress and I got to know each other. We had a hell of a good time waiting for the rest of the party. Our Chad Warlock Ninpu sat down to enjoy the show, and he had but one thing to say.
Wait, our Chad what?
Warlock Ninpu sat each other. We had a hell of a good time waiting for the rest of the party. Our Chad Warlock Ninpu sat down to...
Our Chad Warlock? That's a rogue. Did he say our Chad Warlock?
Enjoy the show, and he had but one thing to say. So who do we invite? Very good question. I pulled in the only alpha male in sight for a private show in the minecart. You gotta do what you gotta do to keep the party together at 4 a.m. Even if that means saving Azeroth with your ass. I knew I was killing it when he uttered, "Maximum comfy." Not long after, our gnome Avery overreached and presumed that he could take a front row seat. I immediately scolded him and told him to know his place. When he then rudely requested that Hellmistress danced for him up close, I immediately knew that we were gonna have a fucking problem here. We stripped him naked and made him dance for our amusement.
Night.
Admittedly, he was a pretty good jester, although that didn't stop Hellmistress from leaving due to the severe social misstep by the gnome scum. Luckily, she was easily replaceable. Then an hour passed, and we had yet to find a tank. We were collectively about to give up, but then Muffy appeared out of nowhere, as sent from the heavens. 5 a.m., cock in hand, ready to rumble. We were gonna give Deadmines a third shot. What ensued was nothing less than perfection. We all knew this was the last run of the night, our final opportunity to not feel like we just wasted our lives to watch a gnome twerk. Then came the moment of pre-traumatic stress disorder, also known as anxiety, when we opened the door to the room we wiped in, which we then obliterated with calculated primal fucking hatred. The game actually has elements of genuine strategy at this
like how his
point.
bracers
Having played
are
for over
broken.
50 hours, I realized the experience of standing and hitting has actually improved by a significant margin. I'd love to tell you a little about the lore of this dungeon and the Defiance gang, but to be honest, I didn't pay attention, not even a little bit. These guys are also in Hearthstone though, so I reckon that's probably where the devs took inspiration from. Then we find gunpowder and bust down this door with a massive cannon.
You there! Check out that noise!
And that's when we hear Mr. Smite for the first time. Slowly but surely, we methodically take out all the things in the way of my goal, completing my first dungeon. I can taste it. When you walk up on Mr.
This has
Smite,
gotta
you
be
get
a good
ambushed.
dungeon, yeah.
Now for a
We're good.
casual group of WoW enthusiasts, this part is actually rather difficult, but for a group of war-hardened fucking animals up at 5 AM, it really is benign and laughable. Notice the perfect coordination. I aggro the two mobs and the healer focuses on keeping me alive, whilst Muffy takes on the big guy. We make quick work of the two weaklings, and then focus the full blunt force
good,
of our
yeah.
emotional instability on the Don, the
Wait,
big
kill the
cheese,
kill the other
Mr.
ad.
Smite. Also canonically referred to as Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. Worldwide!
Now you're making me angry!
Now
is
he's
nice.
angry, so he pulls out the ultimate weapon, Smite's Hammer. Something he should have done from the beginning rather than right before dying. But I digress. Against all odds, the
Oh,
hammer
nice.
actually fucking drops, and I can tell it's a massive stat upgrade for me. Now let me explain how item drops work in dungeons. You can either greed, need, or pass. If all 5 players greed, each of them roll a number, and the one with the highest number gets the drop. If any players need, then it's a roll between those players, because that takes priority. One by one, I saw all my comrades in good faith press greed and
No,
not
no,
need.
it's not in good faith. I mean, there's a rogue can't use it, priest or healer can't use it, the rogue lock can't use it. Yeah, like it's yours, bro.
There I stood, with the power in my hands. It was up to me. I'd never had a blue item before, and the choice was mine. It
Yeah.
was so tempting, yet I recall a promise I made to myself a long time ago, that I would live a kind, humble life of self-reflection and morality. I press greed.
No, you're the only one that needs it. The other warrior didn't. What? This is just virtue signaling at this point. Like, bro, no one else needs it. It's an upgrade.
With absolute vengeance and fury, roll a 72 to receive Smite's Hammer. Now, I'm not a
so you
salty
won
loser,
anyway.
but I am one hell of a cunty winner. I make sure to inform the others that he who greets as the 5th man has a good heart. As we make our way up to the final
Okay,
challenge,
okay.
Edwin VanCleef. Actually, it's at this
Okay.
very moment that the game starts playing Jornio's theme. I'm pleasantly surprised they licensed that into WoW Classic, but it definitely hypes you up for the final battle. After
about
blowing him a
Greenskin?
kiss and waving at him, it's time to stop the fun time happy hour and enter go mode. Now I knew shit was going sideways when Muffy fell. When the mobs then started targeting our healer, I did the only sensible thing. Ignore it entirely and focus on the boss. I managed to take him down while our healer got slaughtered. But I'm an optimist. I can always see the positive side,
Oh,
like
so-
how
oh,
the
man.
gnome scum fell shortly
Can I
after.
do this? Come on.
It was then up to me and our Chad Warlock.
You have a pot.
Who actually, now that I look back at the footage, is
A
a
rogue.
rogue and not a warlock.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it over.
You got
Besides
this,
the
you
point.
got this.
Whatever.
Come on,
fuck.
come on.
It's up to me and Ninpu, the higher intellects of the group, who dual-wield one-handed weapons with a 19% miss chance. And I can't think of any reason why our DPS would be inadequate. Surely the healer and
this is
tank are
really
at fault
close.
for dying here. Finally,
Oh,
we
nice.
prevail. Just to see Edwin VanCleef drop a sick set chest piece. Ninpu selects need. I select need. Eliatra selects need.
Kneading on the leather. I mean, it's really good for a warrior. Okay, I mean, sure, okay.
And our brainlet gnome player selects greed. Ninpu rolls a 10. Eliatra rolls a 69. Yours truly? Fucking 80! Boom! Real
Nice.
gamer hours. Ninpu
Nice.
says fuck my life and rage quits. And there I stood, entirely fulfilled in pure pleasure, waiting for the others to return. Dare I say, chillin' like a villain. My comrades return, and we agree to kill the cookie monster.
Cookie, yeah.
However, I proceed to
I forgot about this. Back in the day, after Edwin dies, half the group leaves, and then the other half of the group's like, well, shall we try to kill Cookie? That was like a very common occurrence. Like, most people would just leave before Cookie was dead. And all the gear's yellow and broken. There's like 4 people here instead of 5. This is a recipe for disaster.
Fall down and aggro all these mobs. The boy then came to the rescue, but I know a losing battle when I see one. I make my escape down the only path available to me and run for my fucking life. Being chased by goblins, bandits, and murlocs, I can't help but feel that I should have been the one to resurrect and walk 15 minutes to my corpse, and they should have been the ones to escape. But of course, there's no need to cry over spilled milk. In World of Warcraft, the day-night cycle is the same as real time, and as I exit the dungeon, I see the sun rising.
I feel so bad for the... Was it a priest healer and a warlock? They don't get even a chance at the wand? Like,
See? It's not all that different from real life.
Not bad.
I hand in the Deadmines quest and go repair my armor, then take a small detour to the Ironforge weapons master so that we can skank out with this new hammer. By the way, using a weapon class for the first time gives the phrase, a swing and a miss, a whole new meaning. After testing out Smite's hammer, I went back to the place that made me realize World of Warcraft is indeed a fucker's game, Ashenvale, the Los Angeles of Azeroth. And from there, I journeyed into uncharted territory, the Stone Talon Mountains. It was time for the Horde shitheads to pay the price of being on the wrong side of history. I had a blast murdering these fucking losers time and time again. There's nothing quite like seeing a man die. Here we go again. And walk all the way to his corpse just to get obliterated again, forcing them to reset the spirit healer, breaking all their equipment by 25%, and
doesn't work in PvP though.
Providing them with an unfortunate resurrection sickness that makes them 75% weaker for 10 minutes. That is the real payoff in WoW. You get to make other people waste so much fucking time, and in a manner that's intensely aggravating. It's fucking sick. Unfortunately for me, I would at this point come to learn that what comes around goes around. The players I'd been tormenting ended up grouping up and spreading the word of my misdeeds. Considering I was the only Alliance player in this area, I now went through retribution of the highest caliber. When leaving the area after numerous deaths, I thought that my peril for the night was over. God, was I wrong. I went into a cursed land known as the Charred Vale, just to complete one simple quest. There are these 4 mobs, and I gotta kill 7 of each. Simple enough, right? Except for the fact that the Charred Vale is packed to the brim with Horde players. So the experience goes a bit like this. Find and kill one of the mobs, and then I die, courtesy of some cunt Horde player. Got it. Then I walk all the way to my corpse, and repeat. Sometimes the experience is actually a bit different and varied, because I'll also just die to the mobs. I should have just given up, but for whatever reason, I was hell-bent on finishing this godforsaken fucking quest. This guy fucking ate my corpse. But World of Warcraft has really diverse gameplay, you know? You never know if you're gonna die to the Horde gank, or the mobs, or the very Blizzard servers themselves.
Oh, no.
It took me an hour and a half. I went through this bullshit until 4 AM, at which point I left the Stone Talon Mountains to never return. Now, you might recall a certain apathy regarding the fact that I can only fight one mob at once, but after 70 hours of game time, you can do this. You fucking murlocs! Notice how I level up right before dying to the last murloc.
Oh, that was
I
perfect.
consider that one of my more precise calculations. Interestingly, I had to play for over 70 hours before being able to take on more than one enemy at a time. And I can't do that very often considering retaliation is on a half-hour cooldown. And you might still just fucking die.
Yeah.
This is a fucker's game. Yet, it's a fucker's game with one redeeming quality. This gnome wanted to buy an axe off me for 1 gold. He then realizes mid-trade that he doesn't have 1 gold at all. I tell him I'll hold on to the axe for him until he gets the money, on the premise that he takes all his clothes off and fills out the only appropriate function in society for a gnome, dancing naked for my amusement.
Is this a role-playing... Is Uber Danger on a role-playing server? Is Noggenfogger a role-playing server? It's not, right? But he's doing it anyway. No, okay. This is a PvP realm, but he's still stripping down gnomes. Okay, I just wanted to get that straight in my head. Okay.
Did I ever end up selling him the axe?
To be continued. We will maybe, bro, maybe. If not, we'll just stay in the graveyard. Oh my gosh. In the first episode, we saw many naked night elves. In the second episode, we saw multiple naked gnomes. Night elves have 1.6 million views. Naked gnomes. Okay. Yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the series, guys. Episode 1, I preferred a little bit more for whatever reason. Episode 2, fantastic. Next one, which we'll get into next stream, which is tomorrow. We're going to watch episode 3, The Point of No Return. Uber danger. I'm liking it. And once again, same commentary as the first one. It's really exciting and refreshing to see someone play WoW for the first time and struggle with all these things that like a veteran player would be like, oh, come on, man. But like a new player gets to experience the joy or maybe it's the pain of growing changes, growing pains. Yeah, that's it.